Hey everybody, this is Tim King from the band SoiL, and we are going on tour with Static X in May of 2023 to Australia.
Damn straight you are, brother. Good morning, Tim. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right. So as you mentioned, man, SoiL returned to Australia for three special shows with Static X, starting in Melbourne on May the 19th before hitting Sydney the next night and finishing in Brisbane on May the 21st. So as far as international tours go, mate, this is a pretty impressive double billing, you guys and Static X together.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. We've toured many times over all the years with Static X, and they're great people, great band. So we're really looking forward to this one.
Yeah. So you say that you've toured with them a few times. Like, is that like when you get to your stage, I guess, as a band, like, is that something that the bands make up themselves? Like Static X will say to you, we want you on tour, or did their management sort of still sort stuff like that out?
Well, the first time we ever toured with Static X, Wayne Static personally invited us. It was in 2002, and our album Scars was out, and Wayne really liked that album a lot. So the tour was Static X, Soulfly, and SoiL, and he personally actually requested that we be on the tour, and we became really good friends with him, and Tony and the rest of the band, Ken and Koichi and all, and from there on out, we had toured with Static X many times over the years. So that one was never a management or agency thing. It was, two bands that had mutual respect and were fans of each other's music, taking each other out on the road. And when Static X got back with this new incarnation, we actually went to UK and Europe with them in 2019, and that was awesome. And now we're going back to Australia with them. So it's great to be able to continue to have all of our bands still out there doing it and going on tour with your friends. It makes it more of a what we call heavy metal summer camp.
I like it. I like it. Well, break it right a little bit, mate. Like off what you just said, then like Wayne originally invited you guys out on the road with him, and now you're touring with him with the new singer, rest his soul. But how is it for you, I guess, like as a band and a performer, like touring with two different incarnations of a band where you've been close to both of them, I guess?
Well, I gotta say that the way that they reinvigorated the band and are doing it now is one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen. It's super respectful. It pays homage to Wayne, yet it still gives Static X a chance to be a new version of Static X. So it pays a great homage to the tradition of Static X and what Static X started as and was always about, and it still gives light to them doing new music and continuing on as with the band, after Wayne's passing. And the stage show that they have with the lights and the effects and the screens and stuff and everything is it's a brilliant stage show. And I love the way that they did, the new member Zero with the mask. And, it doesn't just show a new singer up there. It shows a tribute, yet still a mystery to it. And nobody's done that yet. The closest thing that I saw pay a fine tribute was like when they did the Ronnie James Dio hologram, where he was actually there as a hologram. But what do you do when you're missing, when a member's gone, and you want to keep the band going? Most of the time, it's next to impossible to do, or if they do it, it's just not the same. The way Static X did it is it completely pays homage to it. It makes you feel like you're at a Static X show with Wayne Static, yet you still are at a Static X show with the new incarnation. It's just the best of both worlds, and I have to give them so many props with the way they did it. They did it in such a perfect way that I can't find a flaw in it. So wow. I have to give them major props and major kudos to that.
Wow, I doubt you can see it from there, mate, but you've just given me goosebumps. Like that was amazing. Amazing. So we were saying earlier, mate, like SoiL have not been out to Australia since Soundwave back in 2014, and I'm not very good at maths, but that's like a lot of years ago.
9 years. Yeah.
So what's different about the band since that period, since when he came out last?
Well, we're definitely 9 years older.
You don't look a day over 8 years older, bro.
I appreciate that. But I mean, what we are doing special on this tour and for the rest of the year and into next year, is we're going to play all songs off of our Scars record. We've never done that. Scars was our biggest record. It was our most popular record. And we've never done any touring where we've only played out songs off that record. So Australia is going to get it first, because we haven't played a show in 3 years as SoiL. Once the pandemic hit, we went on lockdown and just kind of put everything on hold. So Australia is going to be the first run of SoiL shows in 3 years. The first time we've played only songs off the Scars record, and our first time back in Australia in 9 years. So it's going to be really special for us to be doing that. And you guys across the pond, or shall we say across the quite a few ponds, because it's a long way over there,
big pond.
are going to be the first to get this. So we're really excited about that, and it's going to be really special to come back to Australia and be able to give the Australian fans something for the first time, because usually, you know, from a band from the States, and you take a country like Australia, you're usually one of the last to get it because you're so far away. This time, you know, we're gonna bring it to you first, right here and there. So
that's fantastic. Fantastic. And on the subject of that, mate, like a lot of bands these days are celebrating album milestones by playing their older albums front to back. But is it easy to do that, man? Like, I couldn't imagine when you first wrote that album that you ever planned on playing the whole thing one day. So, you know, you might have done little tricky bits here and there. So is it difficult to go back and have to do the whole thing?
It's gonna be. There's some songs on that record that we've never played live that we are going to play live. And there's some songs off that record we haven't played live in 20 years. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they translate all these years later. And, you know, we've never played in our career just songs off one record. This is going to be the first time that we've ever done it. So it's going to be interesting for us, and it's going to be an interesting thing for the fans. And I know it's kind of become like a cliche thing to do. A lot of bands, you know, going on tour for, you know, just one album and playing it front to back and this and that. We're going to do something a little different. We're going to play the songs off that record, but we're not going to play it like you turn the record on and just started playing it. We're going to jumble some stuff up, and, you know, there'll be some times where we won't have a full time amount to where we can fit the whole record in, because it is a longer record. It's a 50-minute record. Plus, you know, by the time there's talking and, you know, intros and things like that, we're probably not going to get to all the songs at every show, but we're going to get to as many of them as possible. But it will be exclusively songs off the album Scars.
That's a good idea to sort of do them out of order, you know, because most of the people, I love the whole concept, don't get me wrong, but when you're in the crowd watching and bands doing that, like, you know what song's coming next, it takes a bit of the mystery out of the live performance. But by jumbling a little bit, I think that's a good idea.
Well, and with Halo being our biggest song that we've ever had, that's number 2 on the Scars record. So if we play that, everybody's just going to kind of fall asleep after that. So we got to put that one last.
Start thinking. We mentioned that Scars was a groundbreaking album for SoiL. So why do you think that it connected, and I still does connect with so many people? Like, what is it about that record?
Well, what we did is we had one record out before that. It was called Throttle Junkies. And I kind of like to call that our version of Motley Crue Too Fast for Love. It's more of like a glorified demo. There's so many aspects of so many different types of music on there. We really didn't know what the hell we were doing. So it was really a jumbled record. When we got to Scars, we were really focused, and we had been playing together as a band for a few years at that point. We really honed in on our sound. We had down-tuned to A sharp. We really focused in on what the band was about and what we wanted to sound like. And with that album, we had a lot to prove on that. We were very hungry. We were very energetic. We had a lot of piss and vinegar in us, so to speak, to coin that term. So that record has a lot of emotion to it. It's one of those records that just has a lot of innocence, yet a lot of fire, a lot of emotion, and just raw power to it. But it's a very polished and produced record because it was our first major label record. We had a lot of time to spend working on it, a huge budget for it. And, you know, it came out on J Records BMG and a lot of promotion behind it. So it's a very energetic and powerful record, and we were able to do everything we wanted to on it. And it really shows the true form of what SoiL was and what SoiL was to become. We really honed in and showed what SoiL was going to be for the rest of our career with that record. So I think that's kind of why it translated and just resonated in everybody.
Yeah, cool. And one word that always seems to come up when people talk about your music is the word timeless. Like, do you agree with that when people say that your music's timeless? Like, what is timeless when it comes to music?
I mean, it's an honor to hear, I mean, for somebody to say that something that we did is timeless is, I mean, it's fantastic. It reminds me, and by no means are we, in the league of such bands, but, like your Aerosmiths and your Rolling Stones. And I mean, those bands, you can put on Walk This Way or Sympathy for the Devil or anything, and those songs still sound as good today as they did back when you first heard them. And for somebody to say that about our music, it's just, it's mind blowing, because, there are a lot of bands that, came out that I wouldn't necessarily call timeless. You listen to those recordings now and it's like, boy, that sounds like utter dog crap, but you thought it sounded good at the time. And for somebody to say that about us, that the songs still hold up to this day, it's a true honor to hear something like that. So whoever's out there saying that, thank you.
Good on you. And the last album that SoiL released was Play It Forward last year, which was an album of cover songs that had inspired the band over the years. So how was that experience? It would have been sort of this stage of your career would have been quite reflective. It would have been cool.
Yeah, I mean, since we took 3 years off, we were riding out the pandemic and everything, we got offered to do 2 albums back to back, one being an album of all covers and one to be an album of original SoiL songs. So we agreed to do it. And, all of us picked, what we decided to do is just have the 4 of us separately pick out songs we thought would be cool for SoiL to play, things that we either liked personally or songs that, we thought that SoiL could pull off or that would, resonate with our fans and ourselves and stuff like that. So naturally, what we decided, we did that, and then we all sent the emails together. We said, okay, everybody hit send. Cool. And we sent them over, and we tallied up everything to see if anything was the same. And honestly, the song by Prong, Snap Your Fingers, Snap Your Neck, that we did, and the Ramones song Sedated, and Thunder Kiss 65 by White Zombie were all songs that 2 or more members actually wrote down just kind of out of nowhere. So those were like no-brainers. And then there were a couple that 2 of us had. And then for the rest, we kind of just talked about it and said, hey, what would fit? Me, I really wanted to do Monkey Wrench by the Foo Fighters because I just thought it would be a really cool conversion over into the SoiL thing. And Adam, our guitar player, came up with that Halsey song Nightmare, which is a song that honestly I had never even heard before. I had to go and watch the video on YouTube, and because I'm not a pop guy, I'm a rock and metal kid, so I listened to it and I'm like, boy, I don't know what it's going to sound like if we try that. But lo and behold, that was a really good idea from him, and it turned out really well. So we kind of attacked it in 2 ways: songs that we thought would be kind of cool to pull off, and songs that we really liked and thought would be great to show the roots of SoiL. And we went in, we recorded them. It was a process, because when you really strip those songs down and you hear these little nuances, I mean, we thought Thunder Kiss 65 was going to be the easiest song in the world to record, like two riffs. But when you listen to that song, there's bells, there's whistles, there's fireworks, people speaking through loud things. During the chorus, there's solos going off, and each solo is different during the chorus. It was a mess to try to figure it out. So that we went being real cocky about thinking that was going to be the easiest one, to that being probably one of the hardest to record. And but it went over really well with the fans, and it turned out really well, and we're really proud of it. So it was kind of a win-win all the way around for that record. And later on this summer, in July, we're going to release the second one that we recorded, and that's going to be coming down the pipeline next.
And that's the originals, or?
Yeah, that's SoiL Originals.
Very cool. Busy year for you, brother.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, even though we haven't played out in 3 years, we've stayed busy, doing some stuff.
Good to see. Now, I know this is off topic a little bit, mate, but you're also in a band called Embryonic Autopsy with Scotty from OTEP and you got your drummer, I can't even pronounce this, Arnold Trakalka.
You're pretty good, pretty good. That's almost on the money
there. Cool.
Yeah.
In case you can't tell by the name Embryonic Autopsy, it's a little bit different music to SoiL, but how's it going, man? Like, sounds like a pretty cool, fun thing to be in.
I mean, if you look back at the roots of SoiL, me and our guitar player Adam and our original drummer were in a band called Oppressor, which was a death metal band, and we put out a few records, and we toured with Cannibal Corpse and Cradle of Filth, and we had a good name for ourselves back in the early '90s. And we actually formed SoiL as a side project because we kind of wanted to get back to our roots of like Sabbath and Aerosmith and early Metallica, and we were really kind of into Corrosion Conformity and Life of Agony at that point too. And death metal, you can only go so far. So we formed SoiL as a side project, but it took off, and it overshadowed the death metal stuff. So we broke Oppressor up and just focused on SoiL and been doing that ever since. But I was the vocalist and the bass player in Oppressor, and I went to becoming just the bass player and doing the occasional backing vocal in SoiL. So I went from being the front man to being the guy on the side, playing bass, which was kind of hard to get used to at first. But, naturally, I found my niche into, just honing in on the bass and doing some backing vocals and stuff. But a buddy of mine, Scott, said, listen, I've got all these original death metal songs that I've been writing with this drummer out of the Ukraine. Would you be interested in singing? And I'm like, I haven't sang death metal in 2 decades. I don't know, man. He's like, well, let's just try it out. And I tried it out and it worked. So I started calling some of my old death metal friends, like James Murphy, who was in Death and Obituary and Testament, and my buddy Terrence, who's in the band Suffocation, and Doc Coyle, who was in this band God Forbid, and more recently the band Bad Wolves. And I'm like, hey, would you guys want to throw some solos down on this? And they're like, oh yeah, boy, this is great to hear and see you get back into it. And then all of a sudden, we started kind of sending it off to some labels and got a record deal with Massacre Records out of Germany, got a booking agent with Ashley Street International, and got a publishing deal, a merch deal. All this stuff just started happening, and we just kind of wanted to throw it up on TuneCore and just have some fun with it. But it became this thing, and Soulfly asked us to do some tour dates with them, and now we've got some other tour dates coming up, and now it's become this whole separate band. And the great thing about it is I just have to walk up on stage with a microphone, which is the greatest thing on earth. I don't have to carry a bass or an amp or anything. But it's going to be a very, very busy year for me because I've got all these SoiL things coming up, and then in between the SoiL stuff, I'm doing the Embryonic Autopsy stuff. So I'm just getting pulled in all directions at once. So I went from sitting on my butt doing nothing during the pandemic to all of a sudden now I've got like an entire year's worth of tour dates coming up. So it's interesting. So, but it's fun to get back to my death metal roots because I never stopped listening to death metal after all these years. In fact, I'm wearing a Paradise Lost shirt right now.
You are.
It's like it's fun. I'm just having fun with it. But SoiL's the mothership. It's the main thing. It's having Motley Crue's my favorite band of all time, so I always like to make the Motley Crue comparisons. This is kind of like my 6 a.m. side project of Nikki Sixx, and SoiL is my Motley Crue. So there you go.
Right. And if anyone out there wants to check out Embryonic Autopsy, you've got the album Prophecies of the Conjoined, I believe, came out in 2022. So that's a good starting point to get acquainted with the band.
Absolutely. Anybody that likes death metal should like that one.
Beautiful. All right, mate. Well, thanks very much for your time today. SoiL are out here with Static X on May the 19th, starting in Melbourne. Then they go to Sydney and Brisbane, and I'll be at the Brisbane show, brother. So hopefully I'll catch your eye and get to say hello.
Well, now that we know what each other looks like from the Zoom call, I'll look for you, and we'll have to have a few pints together.